So today we'll talk about the international standards that use for traceability and linking the disease, the outbreaks, and other standards used in the internationally to assess the identification and the necessity for doing the registration and traceability system and applying it in some certain countries. So we go directly to this approach and to discuss some information related to the international standards. As you see, today food safety is worldwide concern due to a number of food safety scandals actually. We can see a lot of outbreaks that have been seen worldwide actually, such as related this others outbreak related to Escherichia coli, African swine fever, and highly contagious diseases such as the avian flu in poultry, BSE and FMD disease in livestock, presence of the dioxin and microorganisms like salmonella, and the other actually outbreaks that can be affected and linked to several diseases. Those outbreaks actually have resulted in heightened the public and the private attention to food attributes. Moreover, as increasing number of people undertake international travel, these outbreaks have the potential to reach pandemic proportions. So we do need to be aware from those things, and also since we are dealing with coronavirus nowadays, you do need to understand that the international standards have put a lot of things just only to prevent the animal products and also the human in general. So we do need to be aware from those things, and there is several steps that to be undertaken in order to prevent the human in general and also the animals and their products to be spread out and to prevent them from this pandemic diseases. Trade in agri-food and commodities are foreseen to see continued increase actually, and you see that it is rapidly increase in general. Changes in the trading environment have led to growth in a global production network, and this structure of the supply chain has evolved toward increased fragmentation and complexity across multiple enterprises and the global research. The large number of players involved in this action, unpredictability of supply, and perishable nature of the food has heightened also the need for assurance of the quality and safety in relation to food products and the production process, and to ensure traceability and compatibility among food safety measures. And from this slide, we do need to understand that the traceability system, as we previously discussed, is taken from the field up to the fork, as I mentioned previously. And if you have the chain value of the chain from the farm up to the fork or the table before consumption, okay, if you register everything in the animal life and its a product, actually you can detect the problem that can cause a pandemic for humans and also for the others. So the traceability system also is very important. We have seen a lot of things related to the assurance of the quality and the safety in relation to food products. We do need a lot of standards actually is found worldwide, just only to be sure that those products are safe without infection. They cannot affect badly the human life and also the animal itself. So in general, we do need to go further in this thing, and you do need to understand the trade is the vital or the important player in this matter, because if you the exportation and the importation process is very critical actually, and you do need to be aware from moving of some certain diseases or animals that hold some diseases between the countries in order to prevent to spread out the certain disease or any other infection to the animals and also to the human itself. Now we will go to discuss the World Trade Organization, which abbreviated as WTO. The WTO agreement on the application of the sanitary and the phytosanitary measures applies rules to the use of non-tariff trade barriers. For example, traceability and identification requirements to restrict market access. Okay, so we have a restriction. The WTO has a restriction or put some certain restriction in the movement of the animal products and animal itself between the countries. Actually, the WTO has a certain agreement, and it is applied actually in terms of sanitary and phytosanitary measures. So we do need to be able to look for this agreement and to work within it. Okay, in response to the concerns that market access may be limited by use of non-tariff trade barriers, the WTO restricts the implementation of traceability measures applies to import by two requirements. What kind of requirements that WTO is asking for? The first one is any traceability requirement must be scientifically justified based on an assessment of risk to human, animal, or plant health. This is the first thing. Okay, just only to put all those species, the human, animal, and plants in general, their health is very important. The traceability requirement must scientifically justify this thing. Okay, and the second thing is they may be equivalent to, but not more to, rigorous than the standard applied to domestic industry. Okay, this is the two requirements for the WTO, just only to apply those things in certain countries. We have something called Codex. The Codex Alimentarius Commission was created in 1963 by two United Nations organizations, the Food and Agriculture, which is FAO, and the WHO. Okay, World Health Organization. It is also a commission. It was established to develop food standards, guidelines, and related texts, such as codes of practice under the joint FAO-WHO Food Standard Program. This codex is very important. It has been established actually previously since 1963 just to develop the food standards and the guidelines. Okay, this is very important because it has been established because of its necessity actually, just only to put those food standards to prevent the health of animal, plant, and also the humans from certain diseases and also the pandemics. The main purpose of this program are protecting health of the consumers and ensuring fair trade practices in the food trade and promoting coordination of all food standard work undertaken by international governmental and non-governmental organizations. So from this thing you can see that the codex in general purposes are just only to prevent or to protect the health of the consumers in general. For it's very important to understand those things. The codex is very important commission that put all standards and guidelines for preventing those the health in general and promoting coordination all food standard work undertaken the international government and non-governmental organization. This is very important because the harmony between the governmental and non-governmental organization is very important. They do need to put in their way the health and the standard that to be adopted just only to prevent or to protect the human health. Also, in the aspect of the World Organization for Animal Health, OIE, I think all of you know this organization. This OIE is founded in 1924 as the Office International for the OIE and renamed in 2003 as the World Organization for Animal Health. it was International des Epizootis. Okay, the new name is the World Organization for Animal Health, that has been nominated at 2003, actually renamed. Okay, this organization is responsible for improving animal health worldwide in its capacity as a leading international standard setting organization for animal identification and traceability. You can see this is very important thing, that the traceability system and also the identification is also the main source of information for what? For the OIE. Okay, so if you return back to all the lecture that has been discussed previously, we are dealing with this farming, which is also the base for the international organization for taking any decision for importing or exporting the animals, their product, and the other things. So the OIE helps its member countries and territories to implement animal identification. They promote them, actually. They promote them, they help them to implement the identification and traceability system in order to improve the effectiveness of their policies and activities relating to the disease prevention and control, animal production, food safety, and certification of the exports. Those are the major rules of the OIE. Just only those rules actually, which about 4 or 5 rules, are based on the identification and traceability system. So you do need to be aware this is a very important issue that should be conducted in a perfect way, actually, worldwide or internationally or nationally. So you do need to understand those rules for the IE. General principles of identification and traceability of live animal were adopted by the OIE, actually. Terrestrial Animal Health Standard Commission in 2007 as official OIE standards. This is very important. You do need to link the identification system with the OIE requirements. These guidelines present in the main element of the identification and traceability system for live animals, as well as their outputs. They describe the essential elements of an identification and traceability system and the logical step to be followed when developing such system. However, they do not provide substantial guide on how to implement these steps, nor do they include practical examples and information on the pros and cons of the different options. So, the pros and cons are very important. The steps for formation the identification system is very important. And if you return back to the previous lecture, you can understand that we have a lot of steps. Actually, we can start. I teach you how to start from scratch. How can you build or establish that traceability system? But the OIE didn't adopt those things and insert them in general. In April 2008, the Director General of OIE called for a progressive implementation of animal identification and the product traceability system from the farm to the fork, as I told you, worldwide. Under internationally recognized OIE standard, robust animal identification and tracing system would allow compartmentalization and regionalization of the disease outbreak, so that trade could continue for animal products from other parts of the country. Also, the OIE terrestrial code includes 2 sections that deal with the compartmentalization section, which is section 4.3, which defines general principles of zoning and the other things. So it's very important to deal with such information. And now we'll discuss the LITS and International Standards Organization, ISO. This is the ISO. We do need to discuss LITS and the ISO, the things that are related to those things. The International Standard Organization, which is ISO, in ISO number 8402, defines traceability as the ability to trace the history, application, or location of an entity by means of recorded identification. This is the definition of the ISO for what we call the LITS, or the traceability. The International Committee for Animal Recording, which is ICAR, abbreviated as ICAR, ISO standard number 11748 also, and the other number 11785 ensure compatibility between the electronic identifiers and readers. Since 1995 actually, ICAR has established and continuously updated its guidelines on animal identification, method, performance recording, and genetic evaluation, particularly in the bovine sector. Quality standards for conventional plastic ear tags were also established. We are dealing with the standards, the general or international standard that has been adopted by the ICAR and also the other organizations that found worldwide. So you do need to understand and to know those things, okay, since you are dealing with the traceability and electronic farming in general. Now, as I told you, we are dealing with the international standard and also organization that has been adopted, as you see from here, since the establishing of the Codex. The Codex Committee in general work on traceability, product tracing has been also carried by the Codex, as you see. They have a general principles and inserted in the inspection actually in the term of exportation and importation from the within and between the countries actually, and they have some rules for this inspection. They have certain certificates, and you can read this slide just only to understand what has happened internationally, and I encourage you all to just to go through this slides, just only up to the final slide from this lecture, and you can understand everything related to the international standards related to the traceability and identification system. I will stop right here, and you can self-reading, and it will be included in your actually exam in general. Thank you.